Hello and welcome to the next chapter of the EHE Fast Growth podcast series, now in vodcast form. I'm Simon Landy, the CMO at EHE, and I'm going to be your host on this series. This series is your backstage pass to our venture studio, where bold ideas meet the funding, strategy and expertise they need to scale fast. In every episode, we'll share how we identify opportunities, how we're going to support founders and create ventures that are designed to grow and succeed. Whether you're an investor looking for exciting AI deal flow, an entrepreneur looking to grow your idea, a partner firm supporting the startup and early stage ecosystem, or you're just curious about what drives fast growth businesses, you're in the right place. Welcome to the EHE Fast Growth Podcast, the Venture Studio Way. Hello and welcome back to Fast Growth, the Venture Studio Way. In this episode, we're tackling one of, if not, the biggest topic in tech right now, AI, and in particular, AI investing. There's been no shortage of hype around AI, with massive valuations, record-breaking funding rounds, and a race among the biggest players to dominate the space. But as investors, how do we separate real opportunities from inflated expectations? Today, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Neil Vose, venture partner at EHE, and Aleksa Vukotic, the group's venture studio CTO, to cut through the noise and give us some tangible insights. We'll dive into what's changed in AI investing, how to spot defensible AI startups, and where the real opportunities lie for investors in 2025. Let's get into it. Neil, Aleksa, it's lovely to see you both in person. We're in the same room, which is fantastic. How are you both?
Very well. Nice to be here, Simon. Thank you.
Excellent. Good to be here. Excellent. Cheers, guys. Right. Let's get into this topic. Aleksa, I want to start with you because our EHE fund thesis, we talk about supporting AI-first companies building proprietary technologies or AI-enabled businesses disrupting a broad range of sectors. Can you explain what that means?
Well, AI is not a new thing. It has been around for quite some time. I mean, we have been using some aspects of AI in a lot of forecasting, predictive analytics for decades now. And more recently, I think there have been, if you think of the self-driving cars efforts that have been going on for at least a decade, these things are not new. But what has happened really in the last a few years is some important innovation that resulted in development of a certain type of AI that has democratized access to it. I think that's the biggest difference that have changed really. So now rapid development and innovation in AI has developed, but at the same time, a lot of new business models have been developed or improved using the AI, which has kind of made almost like another entrepreneurial revolution, really, to reinvent everything we do with AI. And this is what we at EHE really want to harness and improve on. And there are two things to it. There is a deep AI continuing that rapid evolution, maybe towards the journey of, general intelligence in the AI, but at the same time, applied AI, how do we disrupt the existing business model? How do we improve things with the use of AI? It's quite a broad theme, but the one that's becoming really, really important.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Aleksa. So that's the sort of landscape in terms of AI. So if I can move on to you, Neil, from a perspective of an investor, how has that changed for them?
Yeah. Thanks, Simon. I think I'll just echo what Aleksa just said in terms of the fact that this is not new. This has been around for at least a couple of decades now. So, in terms of, I guess the value for AI from an investment perspective is that there's a recognition that it is here to stay. It's not part of a hype cycle or a fad anymore. This is very much ingrained as a core technology. And the second thing I'd say is actually it's also a great time to be an investor and a founder, in fact, in AI in the UK. We're only third behind what's happening in America and in China in terms of global public sector and private investment in AI. So, so again, both as an investor and a founder, it's an excellent time to build tech and to apply for AI patents. And when I was preparing for this this fireside chat over the weekend, I was actually quite pleasantly buoyed and, in fact, quite surprised by a stat which gov.uk published 3 weeks ago, that for the last 6 months of last year, the UK AI sector attracted £200 million per day in private investments in AI.
Just in the UK?
Just in the UK. Wow. And just in private investments. £200 million per day. So, I mean, hopefully, obviously, want us to trust that stat. That just shows you the fact that this is here to stay. It's real, and there's proper monies flowing into this area. So let me just build on that a little bit more in terms of why I think it's becoming or moving out of being speculative hype into real world. I think it's mainly because investors themselves are looking for companies that are providing and demonstrating, that impactful in investment opportunity. They're not just investing in the next funky starter with a grand vision. They're looking for those founders that can demonstrate actual applications which are providing sustainable business models and some tangible ROI. Because don't forget, this is all about investment return as well. So we're looking for initial use cases that are demonstrating positive ROI. And you know what? Again, thinking about us selfishly, I think that we can actually offer some really good options in that space because, as an example, if you just look at our first cohort of our newest fund, I think you'll see that our next cohort within our AI growth fund will demonstrate that our founders are creating that real world impact across areas such as medicine, agricultural, healthcare, personal financial management. So again, this is not faddy stuff. This is stuff with real purpose and real impact. I think the last thing I'll say about investment trends is because these things are more tangible and can be more understandable from an investor perspective, I think it's no longer a niche investment category. I think you'll see that AI will become something which is not only driven by monies from sovereign wealth funds, from private equity, or from venture capital. It'll come from venture studios and even down into the retail investor. And I think that bodes well for the volume and the scale of AI investments in the future.
Brilliant. That's a really, really good overview. And I think one of the bits towards the end that I picked up on is this is really agnostic. This is not, there are certain sectors that, I guess there will be certain sectors that benefit more, but it sounds like most sectors will benefit from this, which I guess sort of takes me on to my next question, which is probably for you, Aleksa, which is, you're working closely with lots of AI startups. You have done, as you've said, for a number of years. You vet the ideas, you vet the tech. So what separates a truly promising AI sort of startup opportunity from ones that are just tagging AI onto the front of their deck and hoping we don't notice?
Yeah, AI is definitely a bit of a buzzword now. So I think investors are looking at this sector to look for that sort of, is it a badge or is it something that is really, really used? And I think with a lot of these things, you would look at them like many other ideas, really. Is there a product market fit? Is there a problem that actually needs solving that this can actually do? And that might not have much to do with AI, but it is the first question you want to answer. And then you look at the AI. There's one thing. There are a couple of things I think that are worth pointing out. With the explosion of LLMs publicly availability recently through the likes of OpenAI and Claude and Gemini from Google, it's become really easy to access AI that is more powerful than anything that anyone could do. So what that allows a lot of early stage businesses to build and iterate quite quickly on top of what these big players have done. So we don't expect that everyone will become a next OpenAI. It might have to use the OpenAI technology to drive at least the first MVP iteration of your AI proposition, with a view how that develops internally into your own proprietary models and algorithms and everything else, really. I think that there's quite a fine distinction there, to make sure that you're not just a ChatGPT wrapper, which is a common word used quite a lot in kind of some of the businesses which potentially ChatGPT can just disrupt, just remove from the market straight away. But at the same time, use that availability of OpenAI and ChatGPT to test ideas and to test business models, so you can develop that further. And just staying on that sort of, what is real innovation in AI. AI isn't magic, so I always kind of wary of anything that kind of tells us, oh, we have some secret sauce, we can't really tell you about it, but it does really magic things. That doesn't work really. But there is still room for innovation. So maybe not everybody will compete with OpenAI, but the innovation will be there to disrupt even those players. I mean, you can look at it probably in the perspective of, cloud computing might be an interesting example, which has started as one very broad offering from one player, AWS, then a few caught up. There's some disruptors that came in that can be bought eventually, but that field has kind of matured now with 3 or 4 big players who control it, which would probably be the same for this plumbing part of AI. But the applications, you mentioned different sectors, niche applications in different areas and different business models. I mean, that is, I think, where AI will make a difference on a smaller scale, but everybody can take advantage of it. It don't have to be just a big player.
Okay, can I take you back towards the beginning of that? LLMs, can you sort of, what's an LLM and how does it work?
Yeah, but LLM has entered the vocabulary. I think everybody can say about it, but they know what it means. LLM stands.
I mean, I use LLM, but I don't know what I'm talking about.
Stands for large language models. It's a innovation in the AI machine learning space, where generative AI models have been developed that can actually mimic humans in creating new content, words, right, typically images, anything else that comes from that. Right. It has probably one thing that has driven this whole big buzz around AI, because of the huge impact when it showed up, and the pace of innovation. Which, I mean, if someone just says the first version of ChatGPT appeared when, what is it now, 3 or 4 years ago?
November 22, yeah.
So that is quite amazing, really. And now it's not just ChatGPT, and OpenAI have different models, and you have so many different use cases for it already. But I think we're only scratching the surface, because everything we did, as you usually do when the new technology comes into play, you apply to general stuff, things that you can actually everybody understand and use. But I think what we really want to see is how this applied in niche sectors and markets, and how it really disrupts, legal, medical, and other industries that come along.
Yep. No, brilliant. And in terms of sort of red flags that sort of make you skeptical, you mentioned this. They say there's some magic which we can't tell you about. I like that. That's clearly, clearly a bit of a red flag. But are there any other, for either of you, are there any other sort of red flags you see in decks when they're trying to talk about AI and how they're using AI to enable their tech ideas?
I potentially have quite a controversial view on that, in so much that I think if a deck has the word AI on its title slide, that's actually a red flag for me. I'm associating some negative connotations around the word AI, like I did with the word digital about 10 years ago. Yeah. Everything is now AI driven, like it was digitally driven 10 years ago. Yeah. So I just think that if a family should bear that in mind, slightly tongue-in-cheek comments around red flags. Aside from that, the standard red flags are all very familiar. And I think we actually covered that in one of your previous pitch deck sessions.
We did, we did indeed. So if you want to hear more about that, there's another podcast all about what we look for in pitch decks, and we cover that in some detail. Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that, Neil. So clearly AI is all over the news. We're seeing lots of serious competition now. Obviously, Aleksa, you mentioned ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, etc. Obviously, the new Chinese AI, DeepSeek, which really did rock the market the other day. So do you think these are truly innovating, or are they just catching up?
I mean, it's an interesting development. Again, I mean, you can see parallels from this development to kind of any other business, how the model kind of scales and grow. When you think of the idea, I mean, I can repeat this quite often. In the startup world, ideas are really not worth much. It is about execution and kind of conquering that market, really. And that's why we have also seen, and the history is littered with examples of companies who have been successful, who are not the first to the market. It's usually the second, the third, the fourth that kind of, you learn from the first innovators, from that early starters, and then do it better and do other bits. So I think that's exactly what we've seen in, for example, cloud computing. This is what we're seeing here. We are just going to get more competition. We're going to get innovation now, not at the core, but at the kind of edges, at applicability, at services, and everything that does come from that. What is interesting to point out that the innovation that OpenAI did as a first layer, but probably others have started doing that at the same time, but that's kind of the scientific breakthrough that kind of won't be taken away, really. I think we'll only benefit of adding more and more and rapidly developing that further. I think there will be a saturation at some point, and I think that will be almost like that side of the providing the general AI services will be, it will be just like a plumbing. It will be just a service you can get for kind of relatively cheaply. It's what you do with that which will make a difference. Yeah. So I think enable more people to use it. That's what will change for these. But remember, we're still talking about LLM still. There is probably a lot more to be developed. We're still talking about text and images only, in kind of generative AI. We still haven't quite got, for example, even the fully autonomous technology for driving. I mean, these things will improve all of that. So I think the AI will grow in kind of who knows where, really. But I think the innovation that they bring, it is innovation. There's a bit of repetitiveness, but innovation is also more efficiency, more easier access, democratization as well. So I think that they all apply.
Yeah, cool. Anything to add, Neil?
Just like to reference a couple of points that Aleksa just mentioned. The word democratization, if I can say that properly. Access to all, availability to all. Clearly, the last 2 or 3 years has seen, a massive influx of 4 or 5 different platforms for both enterprise and consumers to use from an AI perspective. So it's quite similar to what we saw mid-90s with the dot-com phase, is so much that, again, this is not a fad. This is not a hype cycle. This is actually a foundation step change in business and society to almost become quite, Darwinian or Orwellian about that. This is a foundation technology which we're bringing to market here and which we're investing in. And I think it will continue to evolve. And it will evolve in a very structured and a resilient way. And I think one of the things which we learned from Paris last week, when everyone got together, all the geopolitical leaders around the world, got together. I think from what I took away from a lot of those speeches was that, again, this is there should be no national boundaries when it comes to the development of AI. There seems to be a conference on AI adoption pretty much every week at the moment. Yeah, but there are some key, I think, some common themes around why it's so important to have, again, a foundation view on an international level around this, because fundamentally this all comes down to access and consent to data from an enterprise and from like a personal consumer perspective. And it's all about how we build that data consent, use the large language models that Aleksa was talking about previously in a very compliant and a governed way. So it's probably for another episode actually on our vlogcast series. You'll hear a lot of people talking about the ethics within AI adoption. I think clearly if you're doing ethical AI adoption, that is best purpose on an international stage. So I think you'll see a lot of talk and a lot of policies around ethics and data and consent over the course of the coming months. And you know what? When we're talking to our investor community, and indeed our founders, we're actually looking for a bit of a focus on how they are compliant to that data consent piece and want to apply AI for an ethical purpose.
Cool, thank you. So we've talked a bit about our founders, we've talked a bit about the sorts of AI that we're involved in and it being relatively sector agnostic, but there must be some sectors where AI is really moving the needle in a big way. So Aleksa, are there any specific sectors where it's creating a real impact, and perhaps others where maybe in terms of valuations they're actually getting a bit out of control because people are really excited and keen to be involved in certain sectors?
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably leave the valuation piece for Neil, but there's definitely sectors that can take advantage of AI quite quickly, because obviously it is a journey, and for some sectors and businesses, it needs a certain maturity before it can be kind of, really, really disruptive. I think we all kind of talked about and heard about potential for AI, for example, in medicine, but I think that there's a lot of development and maturity to come from things that Neil mentioned, like consent, data management, the human intervention, before it becomes really de facto standard everywhere. However, in a lot of industries, especially those which deal with, I would say, compliance and any kind of legal kind of aspects, I think that is a huge use case, and we have already seen it in a few businesses we have been working with, be it in kind of legal or financial advisory or anything similar to that, insurance, where dealing with a lot of data and producing something that has to be filed and supplied for the purposes of regulatory requirements is a huge way to make efficiencies. But I think also it will be a big driver in businesses where most of the effort goes on human work. Will replace that with not doing the actual work which AI can do in terms of generated content, reports, all the rest, but rather doing the checks and balances and just basically validating the output, really. So I think that's what I've seen that can really have a quick impact right now. I think in the long run, I think we are probably looking at big things like healthcare, medicine, transport and autonomous vehicles and others that will probably take a bit more time before they can become the standard.
Can I just pick up on that word valuation, please? Simon, and I'll start saying, and again, Aleksa did mention the fact that there are some, oftentimes actually quite some startling valuations that we see broadly within the market, but also, frankly, within the decks that get sent to us from potential founders. So I've got a couple of reflections on what is really driving this. Clearly, market traction is one of those fundamental pieces that we look for within an AI within an AI founder. Clearly, if the company is already gaining some significant adoption, it's proved their product market fit, it's a more straightforward sell to us and to our investment committee as a fast investment opportunity. However, it actually comes down to more than that. And what I don't want to do here is confuse technology with the word IP. I think one of the things which I get concerned about also when I see particularly a pre-seed or an early seed founder deck is maybe some quite significant amount of money spent on IP or patent applications at a very early stage within a founder's journey. That's for later on when they've got some when they have further commercial product market fit. So more than patent applications, we're actually looking for ways in which people are, again, as I mentioned before, managing their compliance and governance around proprietary data sets, where those data sets come from, how they are navigating copywriting and licensing regulations so that they don't get into any particular regulatory issues down the line. That can all be patented and put within an IP infrastructure later down the line. What we're looking for is people that have got access to proprietary data sets, be it in medicine, be it in automotive, be it in agriculture. But they are aligning that with, secondly, the appropriate consent and compliance.
Okay, so you've moved on a bit there, actually.
Yes, sorry.
To sort
Yes.
of like IP, and I think it's a really, really important question, isn't it, Alexa? And I think in terms of, within the tech, AI models can be replicated. You said, it's all about building on what's out there. So what actually gives an AI startup a competitive edge? And is it about the proprietary data, better algorithms, better built tech, obviously, from our end. But then I guess, how do people make it harder to have their stuff copied?
Yes, I think Neil mentioned the IP, and that is a controversial subject. I think in all the kind of, I'm with Neil. I'm fairly skeptical in terms of the defensibility of just the IP for the sake of IP. I think for me, the first and foremost comes the business model, and does that work really? I think in AI specifically, I think you said it in one of your examples. I think for me, the first defensible aspect of it is the data, because without the data, there is no AI, there are no models, there are no algorithms to run with. I think that should be first thing, foremost. It doesn't require any kind of specific things to develop or build. I think every business needs to start thinking about what data do they have, how they handle it, and do they have it, even if they are not yet on that AI journey, because when they do get there, that is what will be the biggest differentiator, really. I think, models are developing and being, innovated on all the time. I think, we have seen what happened with the large language models. I think we have something called vision transformers now in the kind of visual space for image processing. But that will continue. But all of these, as they are developed, they are scientific breakthroughs. There will be papers, there will be a possibility to replicate them and do them again. And a lot of these models are already open source, and you can do quite a lot with that. But what data do you use it for? I mean, that is quite unique. And then again, applying just some common sense, strong engineering principles to build a technology that actually works. Although I know from experience, protecting software, for example, is really hard with IP. I think models are probably a bit slightly easier to do, but still not completely something that will protect you. But the data, if you have a data that no one else has, I mean, that is a big difference.
Big USP, yeah, definitely.
It's all about building that trust as well, isn't it, guys? In terms of, it's not all about open source. It's about open source plus the algorithm, plus the architectures, plus the AI models, but linked again to that proprietary AI and trusted data. And without that, you can't build that defensibility in something differentiated. So fundamentally, it starts and ends with data. So I'd rather see people actually having a data-led business proposition rather than AI-led.
Yep, and it's not discussed enough, is it?
No, it's not, actually.
Which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting opportunity.
That's for another podcast.
Absolutely, I've got a big long list. Right, so in terms of investors who aren't technical, of which there are a lot out there, I include myself in that capacity, AI can feel overwhelming. So if someone wants exposure to AI and AI tech but doesn't have a deep tech background, what's the smartest approach? We're going to come to you first, Aleksa, as CTO of the HE Venture Studio. You've got the technical background. You also help investors conduct BD to look into buy into businesses. What's your perspective on that?
I mean, I am a techie. I have been doing technology for 20 odd years, but I spend a lot of that time trying to demystify tech, because tech is not, opaque, secret sauce, a magic that someone needs to do. It is well understood. It does require some skills to be involved with it, but it is still something that it's not rocket science. So I always talk to founders who are getting into technology in general over the last 20 years, more recently to AI, to always approach it as a learning opportunity, because it is definitely something that everybody can take in, really, and should try to do that. I think with AI, what is really good with AI currently is there's so many tools out there, so everybody can see it in action and use it. And I think first way to understand what the technology can do is just to use it and become kind of fluent in it. I know we all here probably use ChatGPT, maybe use some generative AI, other bits, and that is the starting point. And then it is just about learning maybe some terms and phrases and what do they actually mean. I think all of AI is built on a very advanced mathematics, really. So I think that's what it is. I did mathematics 4 years university. It's still beyond what I've learned. So I don't go all the way down. But understanding how that works and how AI takes the data and reasons about it and learns about it and generates for it, but in a sense, in a way that seems magical, but it's not really how humans do it. I mean, we all have probably seen or heard in terms of the LLMs and the ChatGPT, how it actually generates content. It is a probability theory after all. What is the most likely thing, character, word, sentence to come after what I already have? So it is sometimes very interesting to think about because it is not human. It's not how our brains work, but it can mimic that quite nicely and effectively.
Yeah.
So I think that is the important bit to understand that both the founders and investors. But when it comes to investing in it, I mean, I would always say and I think most investors do that. You do your own due diligence. You need to understand what you're good at. I mean, and I know a lot of investors that they all usually know how to evaluate business models, and that's what they should be doing, really. And if you want to double check and triple check that what technology is, what it is, that's why you do the tech due diligence, which is what I have been doing for investors for a long while. Just looking under the bonnet, having a look at the technology, but not only just the technology, also the processes, how is the technology developed, the team behind it, and can it actually scale? Because it is one thing to not only the AI and the technology to build one thing for one customer, and then having that same thing out there for 10,000 customers or even 10,000 different sectors, basically. So I would say, use your own common sense, take opportunity to learn. I think this isn't rocket science. Everybody should give it a try, but then look at the expert support for any kind of specific due diligence for investment.
Brilliant, thank you. So that's the technical viewpoint, Neil. So I won't say you're a non-techie because you're not. You're also very techie too, but you come at it from a slightly different angle. You've both built, you've invested, you've led successful tech companies. So what's your view on this the sort of investor?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I think the first thing obviously is it can be quite scary to look at potential AI investment. Is to align yourself with the experts, like Aleksa from a technical perspective. Go to conferences, read all the journals, read all you can see in the news feeds about AI. But I think whether it's AI or particular AI enablement within a specific domain, it comes down to some quite pure business fundamentals in terms of assessing the applicability of whether this founder is right to invest in. So it's the usual stuff. Can they communicate the value proposition within 1 minute? Can they articulate the need which they're solving to their core customer segments, to their core customer segments, also within a minute? Can they demonstrate a very realistic roadmap of how investment monies get spent on a monthly basis? And critical to that is what particular milestones are achievable on a monthly and quarterly basis, and be really honest about the challenges that they'll face as a business to succeed with those, be it from a technology perspective, be it from a human capital employee perspective, or revenue perspective. We're just looking for some transparency and for some business sensibility when it comes down to assessing, the fundamentals of this AI-driven company, but from some very rudimental business fundamentals.
Cool. Right. Crystal ball time. Let's look into the future, 2 or 3 years. Let's look at it we need to look at it from both founders and investors, but from a founder perspective, what should they focus on, I suppose? What should they keep focused on to stay valuable beyond the short term, beyond what's happening in front of their eyes in the next 3 to 6 months?
I'll go first. I guess the founders should be ready for continuous rapid innovation in the AI space, really. So we have seen what some of the large language models can do now. They can probably do more, much more in a few years' time. That will also apply to other aspects of AI, be it image or video, generative or analysis, then perhaps some kind of autonomous reasoning in terms of driving and the other bits as well. But I think what will be interesting, because I have a feeling that over the last few years, and this is just my opinion and probably continue like that, technology has moved at a rapid pace where our own kind of a moral norms and norms of using the AI in our daily lives have moved as well, but at a bit of a slower pace. So I think we might be looking at that catching up a bit. But it'll be quite interesting to see how that develops. I think we have all seen and can potentially imagine, if you haven't seen it, that AI will make mistakes in their reasoning, just like humans do. But if a machine would make a mistake, I think that will become a front page news straight away, where humans do make mistakes every day, because we are just wired in to understand as a humans we do make mistakes. And we don't want to allow something that doesn't have a mind like a machine to make that mistake. I'm thinking, for example, in healthcare and in diagnostics, for example.
Okay, brilliant. Neil, do you have anything to say about in relation to founders, or do you want to give this a sort of investor perspective in terms of what they should be thinking about before making their next AI investment?
Yeah, again, as Aleksa mentioned, it's about the ability for the human or the moderator to enable and harness that AI technology opportunity. So for me, what's exciting from both a founder and from an investor perspective is just how we'll see, the hyper growth in terms of building value creation, launching, amending, adapting, relaunching AI products on an ongoing basis. Again, based upon identification of an understanding of a unmet customer need, which this new AI technology can help to solve. And I think what's really exciting about that bigger picture is that we're not waiting years to monitor or to account for business success or for technology utilization. We'll see that in a matter of weeks, people will prove a market need and will build sustainable revenue streams. So I'd be looking for founders and for investment opportunities that can prove that they have a very practical and realistic AI release roadmap, which enables the building of ongoing revenue streams as they respond to their customers.
Well, great. Thank you both. Whoa.
We covered a lot.
Covered a lot. A lot of great insight there. Thanks both very much. So, if you're an investor looking to back AI startups with real potential, or a founder building in this space, check us out. Check out EHE Venture Studio, where we combine to provide a unique solution for AI tech build and investment, and the broader sort of advisory and support that goes with it. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on scaling and investing in high growth tech companies. See you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Fast Growth the Venture Studio Way. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your network. It helps us reach more investors and founders who are serious about building high growth tech ventures. You can find Fast Growth the Venture Studio Way on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Want to learn more about EHE Venture Studio and about how we provide tech, funding, and advisory to ambitious startups? Visit www.ehe.ai. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time on Fast Growth, the Venture Studio Way.